You ever hear a story that's about pure genius and complete self-destruction all happening at the exact same time? Well, that's what we're getting into today. It's the story of the band Love and their legendary 1967 album, Forever Changes.
I mean, this isn't just any album. Forever Changes is a landmark. People routinely call it one of the greatest records ever made, and you know what? It's a sublime, timeless masterpiece that honestly sounds as fresh today as it did all those decades ago. But here's the crazy part, the paradox that just defines this whole story. If the album was that brilliant, why did it completely blow up the band that made it? How does your greatest triumph lead directly to your own ruin? That's the question we're going to unpack.
So, to really get why they fell apart, we've got to first appreciate what they actually created. And it was, well, a perfect, yet totally broken masterpiece. You've got this wild conflict right at the heart of the album. On one side, it was this artistic peak, right? A gorgeous mix of Baroque pop and folk rock with lyrics that were just so deep. But then, on the other side, it was a commercial disaster, a total nadir. I mean, it was pretty much ignored by everybody, had no hit singles, and it made basically zero splash when it first came out.
And when I say zero splash, I mean it. You want to know how little impact it had? It peaked at number 154. 154 on the Billboard chart. For an album that we now consider an all-time classic, that's not just a flop, that's a spectacular failure.
So, who was the mind behind this beautiful failure? The enigmatic visionary? Well, to get the music, you absolutely have to understand the man who was driving the whole thing. And that man was Arthur Lee. He was the heart of the band, and let's be honest, the heart of its chaos too. People who were there describe him as this totally unique figure in the 60s LA scene. Sure, he was charismatic, but he was also mercurial, you know? Totally unpredictable, fiercely independent. He was the visionary through and through.
And his band, Love, they really were something else. For starters, they were racially integrated, black and white members playing together. Now you have to remember, for a rock band back then, that was almost unheard of. Their sound was a total melting pot, pulling from R&B, surf rock, British pop, you name it. They became absolute legends on the Sunset Strip for their live shows, just completely electrifying. And yeah, Elektra Records snatched them up pretty fast.
But, as it often happens, that same electrifying energy, it didn't stay on the stage, it turned inward. And what it created was, well, a symphony of pure turmoil.
Okay, so to really get the album, we gotta talk about its sound. It gets this label Baroque pop, and you might be wondering, what on earth is that? Well, it's basically a mashup of rock music with classical music. So just imagine intricate harmonies and big orchestral arrangements with strings and horns. It created this incredibly sophisticated, layered sound that you just did not hear in rock music at the time.
And here's the kicker, this beautiful, sophisticated music, it was born from absolute chaos. I mean, think about it. It was recorded during the 1967 Summer of Love, but Arthur Lee wasn't writing about peace and flowers. His lyrics were dark, fatalistic. He was obsessed with death. He was genuinely convinced he was going to die any day, and that paranoia just bleeds through the entire album. The sessions themselves were a mess, full of tension, heavy drug use. And then, to top it all off, Lee did something that caused a ton of friction. He brought in session musicians to play the really complex parts because he felt his own bandmates couldn't handle them.
Yeah, that kind of tension, it just can't last. The masterpiece was done, sure, but in the process of making it, the band had basically planted all the seeds for its own destruction.
So what really happened? It wasn't just one thing. It was like a perfect storm of 4 issues all hitting at once. First up, you had Arthur Lee's leadership style. It was autocratic, his way or the highway, and that created a lot of resentment. Then, there was the drug addiction, which was everywhere. Heroin especially was fueling paranoia and making everyone totally unreliable. Third, all this led to some serious internal fighting. The other guys in the band just felt pushed to the side, completely marginalized. And finally, the money. Or the lack of it. All the 5-star reviews in the world don't pay the bills, and that financial disappointment just killed everyone's morale. And the result of all that? It was fast and it was brutal. The original lineup, the very guys who created this masterpiece, they fell apart almost the second the album came out. Just think about that. Their greatest triumph and their bitter end happened at the exact same moment.
But, you know, the story doesn't actually end there with the band's collapse. Not at all. For Arthur Lee, the long, difficult journey to reclaim his legacy, well, it was really just getting started.
And what a road it was. It was long and it was hard. The band was gone by '68. Fast forward decades to 1996, and Lee ends up in prison under California's really harsh three-strikes law. But then, when he's released in 2001, something truly remarkable happens. Between 2002 and 2005, he puts on these incredible, triumphant world tours. He's playing Forever Changes from start to finish for sold-out crowds. A whole new generation that finally got what he was doing. It was this amazing second act. But sadly, it was cut short when he passed away from leukemia in 2006.
So, when all is said and done, what's the ultimate legacy here? I think this quote sums it up perfectly. The album is a monument to a band that burned so brightly, but so briefly. It's a beautiful, broken masterpiece that really did forever change the landscape of music. And that really brings us to the final question, the one that kind of hangs over this whole story. When you look at all the chaos, the pain, and then you listen to the sheer beauty that came out of it, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Can you ever really separate true art from the struggle that it takes to create it?